don't you sing something?
No, Mulder.
Now, if you sing something, I'll know you're awake.
Mulder, you don't want me to sing. I can't carry a tune.
Doesn't matter, just sing anything.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. Never understood a single word he said, but I helped him drink his wine.
Chorus.
Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me.
Can I see you through all these trees? There's lots of trees everywhere. We need to stay hidden.
Yeah, we do.
I don't feel like you're into this intro at all. What's going on? Do you not like tree-based intros?
It caught me off guard. Like you said, we're going to start, and then I just waited.
Anyway.
Now what are we going to do? How are we going to see each other through all these trees?
Well, I don't know, but I know some people that would know, and that's Mulder and Scully. But before that, welcome to Most Unwanted. This is an X-Files podcast. It's an X-Files podcast is probably a better description of it. I'm Luke, and I'm joined by Daniel. I'll give full name here.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
I am very good. Yeah, I'm very good. I don't know what to say really. It's weird. We're recording this one of the morning. I say morning, sort of noon time, which feels a little bit strange. It feels weird that this is like one of the first things we're doing in the day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's you say first thing. I've been cleaning the ceiling this morning.
Yeah,
I've been having a fun-filled morning.
Why was the ceiling dirty?
It's the bathroom. It gets a bit mouldy sometimes.
I get that.
Scrubbing ceilings, which it's not my favourite job. My favourite job is washing up dishes. That's my favourite household chore.
Why is that your favourite?
Because you just put a podcast on, and it's like 40 minutes where you just it's so easy. You know what I mean? Cleaning, you just do this while listen to a podcast.
Is there a chore in your household that it's just your job that no one else does?
Usually taking the bins out.
Taking the bins out.
Yeah.
See, if like the one that only I can do is putting the duvet into its cover because Jem's arms aren't big enough.
Sorry, Jem. I didn't mean to laugh.
I have to do that. Or if there's any tins or something like that in like the top of the cupboard, I have to do that as well.
I have to do that, but I have to use my monkey-like agility to climb onto the side of the cupboards. So yeah, I very much risk life and limb when I do that.
That's an interesting point actually, because how tall are you?
Between 5'2" and 3. It changes with.
Well, let's call it 5'2". There's not really a tall person in your house, is there?
Not really, no.
You've got how do you resolve all these short people problems?
A ladder. Or, like I said, I'm quite good at climbing on things. So I'm like Bran, but before he gets pushed out the window. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my life. I climb on things, or I'm from can't be bothered, just get a step ladder. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Just something you live with. Never bang my head on anything though. That's never happened.
Yeah. You got to look at the bright side, haven't you?
I feel like
I remember just a really random story. So there's I'm not telling you. I'm telling our listeners. There's this sort of living museum in close to where we live. It's called the Black Country Museum, and it's basically the idea behind it is you go in and it's like this little village of the way the Black Country used to be. So like coal miners and stuff like that.
It's like 1800s, isn't it? Like
but it's not like a museum in this traditional sense. It's people are actually pretending to live that life, and it's like you walk into this little time warp thing, and then you can go down a mine in there. And one of the most claustrophobic moments in there is when the ceiling gets really low and you've got to sort of crouch down in the pitch black dark. And we've all got torches, and I remember turning round and seeing Luke stood bolt upright.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is there are plus sides.
Yeah, exactly. I could be a coal miner and it'd not be a problem. Apart from the cave-ins, that'd be a problem. You know what I mean?
That would be a problem, yeah.
Talking of problems that you could have, that's a good segue into questions with the boys.
Questions with the boys. Questions with the boys. After chasing sunset, one of life's simple joys. Questions with the boys.
So yeah, problems. I have a problem for you, and this is my first question. So, for some mysterious reason, you're stranded on a deserted island. You've got your food. You've got like water. You're not going to struggle to survive as such, but you're stuck there. You can't get off. You can't contact anyone. What would your luxury item? You knew that you're heading there ahead of time.
Yeah.
What would you take with you?
A speedboat.
I said specifically before we did this, no boats. Not allowed a boat or a communication device of any kind.
This is, you know what? This is the first time you've ever told me a question before we started recording.
Yeah.
And this is why we don't do it.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah. So you're talking like an entertainment device, aren't you, I think?
Or anything, something that keeps your life going. Like some people, I know their like luxury item might be like, I don't know, hairspray or something like that. You know what I mean? Anything like that, but you're only allowed. You get an unlimited supply of it, let's say, as well.
Do I have internet?
You have the internet, but you can't like communicate with other people. Let's say.
Okay. I'd go for a Kindle.
A Kindle, yeah.
Or some sort of reading device, a tablet with a reading device. I think I could get by on infinite amount of books. Because the problem is, if I take a DVD player, I suppose I could have like Netflix and something like that, but eventually you would run out of things. I don't think you're ever going to run out of books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like you can get lost in a book and it would be a different reality. But as long as I'm safe and sound on this island, I reckon you could keep yourself sane by reading novels. And I've only just thought of this. Think of all like say if I wanted to build a fire, I'd just find a book about building a fire. I'd find a how-to book. I've got all the information at the tip of my fingertips, and so if I can get any book that I want on a Kindle, that's what I'd go for.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think you've probably answered mine as well, because the more I think of it, like, I'd probably go for, like something like that, like to be able to read comics as well, because I've got really got really into them like last year and now this year, and like being able to read books and comic books, I think would. Yeah, I'd be fine. That's probably my perfect existence. Just leave the rest of the world and just keep reading.
We could do this. We could just go.
Yeah. I mean, do you know anybody selling an island?
No.
We'd probably end up with that one that's full of like poisonous snakes or something like that.
In which case, I'm taking antidotes.
Or some kind of like machine gun or something like that. Don't know. Okay. So yeah, we just want to basically withdraw from society and read for the rest of our life. Yeah. Basically like that. It'd be like a Twilight Zone episode.
Or it would be like lockdown.
Yeah, I've been practicing for this, basically. Okay, a bit more of a normal question. Just what's your favourite album of all time?
Ooh, okay, a little bit about me. I don't really do albums. This is the thing, I like music. I'm not the biggest music fan. So, like, out of, like, all my friends, there's a lot of conversations where it's like, I love listening to this album from start to finish and like just really into different types of music. And I don't really get into that. I can appreciate music. I enjoy listening to music, but I don't like. I like listening to songs. I like kind of a radio listener, if you like. And so like albums, I don't really know. But if I had to answer the question, I tell you one of the albums that I do remember. It's only one of the few albums I do remember listening from start to finish multiple times, which is Daft Punk's Random Access Memory.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Probably one of the few that I've actually sort of sat down and listened to as an album rather than listening to singles.
Yeah. No, that's not a bad shout, to be fair. Yeah, I always forget about that album until like it pops on and I'm like, ooh, that is really good, to be fair.
I mean, it was phenomenal, wasn't it? It really was. But yeah, in general, I've got to say I'm much more of a single listener. And the thing is with Spotify and stuff like that, it's so easy just to go to your favourite songs and make a playlist of, you don't need to listen to full albums. And I know there are people out there, a lot of my friends included, which will say it should be listened to as an album. It's an art piece as a whole. And I get that, I understand. It's just not for me. I don't enjoy it that way.
Do you know what? I always think that's like, with music, I think you can have both. You know what I mean? Like, there are albums where it does benefit to listen from start to finish. And then there's some stuff where it's released and it's kind of a collection of singles. You know what I mean? The album is just a collection of singles. So I can see merit to both, depending on what it is. You know what I mean? Like, because I think my favourite album, I want to say like Abbey Road by the Beatles, but if I be truthful, like there's a lot of that where I'd be like, I don't know if I'd listen to it all the time. You know what I mean? It's my favourite Beatles album, but I don't know if I'd want to listen to it all the time. But I think one that anytime like one of the songs from it comes on like a shuffle, I just do listen to the album in full. And that's what's it called now? It's a long title. It's a Coed and Cambria album, which is like telling there straight away. I think it's called like Good Apollo on Burning Star 4. But it's like their third or fourth album. Third, I think. Yeah, third. There's a lot. There's a lot that they've released. But that one, like anytime a song from that comes on, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to it front to back. And that album tells a story. It's like all of their albums tell stories that, like from start to finish. So that's why, like, I'd say that as an album works. But yeah, there's some stuff where it's like it's just a collection of songs that you can listen to them in any order. So yeah. But
I like that, and I do like the idea of like, as I say, it is an art piece. It's if someone's telling a story, or even if they're not telling a story, if it's just like a general theme, or like the theme sort of shifts as the album goes on. It's cool. And I like hearing about it. I like trying to understand it. I just don't. Here's the thing: when do you have the time? When do you have the time to sit and listen to an hour and a half of music?
I know, yeah, it is, especially these days and stuff like. It's a lot harder to do. I think that's why like vinyl took off. But and I like got sucked into it, and I was like buying loads and loads. But then as I bought some, I was like, I don't actually like all of the songs on this, and the way like that it's like that you have to listen to a vinyl. You can't just jump between it, or you can, but you have to sort of learn where the grooves are and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like at that point you go, I'm just gonna buy the ones where I do love every song on this album. And you really do start to see what are your favourites from like what you own, I think, from there. But yeah.
Definitely. No, I agree. I think that's a good shout.
Wow, that's quite a long intro. We got into a lot there, to be fair. We got into the woods in that one. Who's the Segway King now? Let's get into this episode. So we're on episode 4 of season 5. It's titled Detour. It was directed by Brett Dowler, written by Frank Spotnitz, and the original air date was November the 23rd, 1997. Any thoughts going into this episode before we started off?
I think I accidentally revealed to myself last week that it was Monster of the Week.
Yes.
So I did know that it was going to be Monster of the Week going into it.
Yeah. You can tell pretty much very early on as well.
You can. I mean, my thoughts on like maybe the first few moments of the episode is that it feels a little strange. And I only say that because, especially after the events of the first two episodes, when it's all like sort of serious and like it just feels weird that it's all back to normal a little bit. Do you know what I mean? They're still working with the FBI. There's not really an explanation. In fact, they're going to like this sort of work course. I don't know. I did find it a little strange, that.
Yeah, I know you mean. We'll get into it anyway. So we start off and there's basically two surveyors who are plotting out some land in a forest in North Florida, or Leon country, it says. Which I saw a note as I was looking through the production notes, and somebody, do you know, on IMDb people can write goofs in and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Somebody put a goof in and it had 1 like, so you could tell this was a very disgruntled person. Was like, "There's no forests in northern Florida," and it's like, oh, okay. It's one of those details where it's like, I don't think it matters too much for this. You know what I mean? It just needed a place. But anyway, if you are concerned about geological accuracy, then there you go. But yeah, we see these two people. They're kind of arguing with one another. One's sort of basically saying that he'll be glad to see all this destroyed, whereas the other is making a point that, you know, we shouldn't be destroying the forest. I don't know whose side of the fence you fall on when we see them be attacked by these sort of unseen creatures that sort of mask into the forest, and they've got like glowing red eyes. And yeah, both of these people are attacked and seemingly killed in the opening scene.
I immediately thought, oh, the tree man.
Yes,
I thought that's what we was going to get, like the trees are alive type thing, and they're sort of exacting revenge for being cut down. That's what I thought. Yeah, interesting intro. And I thought it was it did a good job of sort of setting up the threat. Again, it feels strange to be back into a Monster of the Week, kind of, doesn't it?
It feels like the season's in full swing now. You know what I mean? Like, when you get back to this, like, sort of... And I say this lovingly, quite a by-the-numbers Monster of the Week. You know what I mean? Like, this feels like, oh, we're into the meat and potatoes of this series now, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So after the credits, we see a father and a son later in the day, and the dog hunting in the same area of woods, and they find a bloody jacket on the floor. And this jacket is obviously one of these people who are surveying. The dad tells the son to run home and take the dog with him. And as soon as he runs away, we hear gunshots, and they both stop. They sort of growl at the dog sort of growls at something, not the son. And they carry on running out of the woods, which I was very concerned about the dog here, and again later on. So I was like, don't tell me we're going to get some dog killing. And it's weird, isn't it? That's just one taboo that people just don't go to. They don't kill a dog. Yeah,
I mean, it was always one of the rules of Hollywood, wasn't it? The dog survives. It doesn't happen so much anymore.
I feel like
they tend to kill off animals a lot more.
Yeah, now. That's been shattered now, definitely. I don't know what sort of... It was... Do you know what it is? Dante's Peak. That killed the dog. And then it was like downhill from there.
No, Dante's Peak didn't kill the dog.
Is it? Which one was it? Oh, yeah, because he jumps out, doesn't he? They killed him.
He jumps onto the boat.
Yeah. And then the nan gets killed.
Why did you laugh when you said that?
I always think of that film. She's like pushing the boat and like, no, I'll jump into the water and push her. It's just, I know it's not meant to be funny, but it always makes me laugh. I don't know why. God. Sorry. Oh, God, that's my morbid sense of humour kicking in there. Meanwhile, we see Mulder and Scully are driving... well, we don't know initially, but they're with two other agents, Agent Kinsley and Stone Cipher, which, what a name. That's pretty unbelievable. But we find out that they're on the way to a team building seminar, which Mulder does not seem happy about in the slightest.
We were doing an exercise called Team Builders, where we were given 2 minutes to build a tower out of ordinary office furniture.
When I stood on Mike's shoulders and I put that electric pencil sharpener on top of the pile, we both knew We could never have done it alone.
Kill me now.
You ever been to one of these team seminars, Agent Scully?
I think I went to a constructive problem-solving course when I first joined the Bureau.
Oh, did you play that game where you can't use any negative words?
I couldn't believe how hard it was not to use the word but.
I'm having that same problem right now.
Have you ever been to a team seminar, Agent Mulder?
No, unfortunately around this time of year I always develop a severe hemorrhoidal condition.
Well, it builds muscles you didn't even know you had.
The two agents that are like in the front are two of my favourite characters ever in X-Files. I love these guys. And instantly as well, I will toot my own horn a little bit here. I said to myself, these guys are saving the day.
Yeah.
Like, you could just see it coming a mile, especially when, when Mulder starts to investigate a little bit until in a moment or so. And the guy just goes straight up to the tree trunk and starts looking at the history of the land and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's going to save the day. I know he is.
Yeah. I did love how over the top they were. They were so happy to be going on this team building, and they're talking about past team buildings. Where do you stand on team building office stuff?
I like team building stuff, to be honest with you. I find it's kind of like an excuse just to goof off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really take it too seriously, and I understand why people find it awkward, but I'm just not quite a sociable person anyway, so it's just me having a laugh. I don't really see it as a chore.
I'm sort of in the middle. I love when you just go out and do social stuff with people from work, but it's when it's the forced fun. We've all got to do this task, and I'm like, can we just sit around and talk? Get me a beer, basically.
Yeah, it's true. I know what you mean. Like building a tower with office furniture.
Yeah. I'm with Mulder on that part. I'm more for the party afterwards. But yeah, so they sort of come across a roadblock, and Mulder seems, I think he says thank you God, as he gets out to go and investigate what's happened up ahead. I love how even when they're off the clock, basically, they stumble upon an X-File. Mulder goes to speak, the mother comes to speak to Mulder, thinking he's part of the search and rescue team, and she wants to know where her husband is. So he goes to investigate a bit further into the woods, finds some of the local law enforcement. I can't remember the woman's name in this now. Yeah.
No, I can't either.
I didn't make a note of it, but yeah, he meets this red-headed woman who's the sheriff, I assume. She looks like quite senior.
She's in charge of the task force, and it was Officer Michelle. Azekis.
Yes. So yeah, Scully starts talking to her Mulder starts talking to her as Scully sort of is kind of like, we kind of need to go to this thing, but she also seems a bit hesitant to. She'd rather be doing this, investigating.
Yeah.
They say they haven't found the body of the father, but there is evidence of shooting, and basically, Mulder asks Scully to cover for him for not going to this thing because he'd rather be investigating this. I love how at this point he sort of says, see, we don't need to work on our communication, you already know what I'm thinking. Which
he's literally just using this as an excuse to get out. He doesn't even think this is an X-File at this point, I don't think.
Yeah, so it's weird seeing them basically happy in this point, because after the episodes that we've seen, it's been quite miserable for them, you know what I mean? Scully's been fighting off cancer and potentially dying, and Mulder's been trying to chase down a cure, essentially, and more to this conspiracy. It feels nice to sort of see them back working together at this, quite a simple case, I guess, for them anyway.
Yeah, it does. I mean, to be honest, throughout this episode, you get it feels like the relationship between Mulder and Scully is a lot closer throughout this episode, I found. But then on the flip side of that, it's like I was saying earlier, it did feel a little bit weird. The very fact of them going on this sort of team building exercise after they found out that someone in the FBI has been working against them for the entire time they're there. It just feels like, why would a week later, when Scully gets a letter saying you've been invited to a team building exercise, why would she go, yeah, that sounds good? Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels a little bit strange that this is happening so soon after.
Everyone needs a bit of downtime, whether you're in a massive Illuminati conspiracy or not. But yeah, I love these sort of scenes, and there's a scene later on which I'm sure we'll talk about where this feels as like a backdrop to them sort of connecting more. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm going to make a bold prediction. I didn't make it in my prediction show. This is the series where they're going to kiss.
Okay.
Almost definitely. I'm like 99% sure that they're going to, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. That's an unofficial prediction, by the way, so if it does go wrong, I'm not singing anything or, you know. Later on that night, we see the boy who'd ran away. He's watching The Invisible Man, and his mother basically talking to him. She thinks now that his father might be dead. Because basically, he's a good hunter, so he'd have shot whatever was attacking them, essentially. But I don't think she outright says that to the kid, but that's basically what she assumes at this point. Yeah. We see Mulder and Scully staying at a hotel for this reception for the team building exercise. Scully comes up to Mulder's room with a plate of cheese and some wine.
It's open. Who cut the cheese?
Since you won't be making it to the conference.
Partay.
However, I must remind you, this goes against the Bureau's policy of male and female agents consorting in the same hotel room while on assignment.
Try any of that tailhook crap on me, Scully. I'll kick your ass.
They reference something which I didn't know what it was, but I'll bring it up in the production notes later on. But it's if he says a quote to her of, "If you try any of that hook line shit on me, I'll kick your ass," basically.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Apparently, there was a sexual assault case in the FBI or something like that, or around that, or in the military, and it's like referencing that, basically saying, "If you try and get handsy on me, I'll kick your ass."
Okay, that makes more sense, because just before that, Scully makes a comment about a female and male agent shouldn't be in the same room at night, and I thought to myself, well, they've been in each other's rooms throughout like the rest of the season, so maybe this is like a sort of a little nod to
current events or something.
An actual real life case involving FBI agents. Maybe that was what it was.
Yeah. But I did like this sort of like playful, because when he comes in as well, Mulder's like, "Party." You know, it's just, I think there's a lot in this episode with like sort of the conversation between these two, and it just feel like there's not really an other character in it. Like there's like the law enforcement and like this guy who comes on the expedition with them later on, but essentially they're just bit characters. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody to get your teeth into. It's their connection in this episode, which definitely makes it worth it, I think. Mulder carries on to inform her that basically an animal wouldn't attack the strongest member of the group, so the dad in this situation. Like no animal on Earth does that. They always go for the weaker target. So they think something's up there, that maybe this isn't some kind of wild animal attack. We also see later on, back at this house, the dog, or the only one that's been credited in this, Bo, the dog, is barking at something outside. So the mom lets the dog out, which I was like, don't do that. The dog's going to die. But the dog doesn't die. She goes out to go and fetch the dog, and she finds out that she's been locked out.
It was a trick.
And she, at this point, the boy in the house is basically sort of attacked by this creature. He's not physically attacked, but it starts chasing him through the house. And this is the one point that I did like the effects on these monsters, because you couldn't really see their body, you could just see their red eyes in the dark. I thought, that's quite sinister, you know what I mean? Like, just see two red eyes chasing you.
I actually thought the the sort of the monsters in this episode, I actually thought they looked really good. To be honest with you, I thought the idea of something that you can't really see, and those red eyes, like you say, give it that sort of sinister, very, very horror film cliche-esque feel to it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good shot where it was chasing this kid, and then as this kid runs out, just about to escape, he runs into Mulder, who was basically coming to let them know that somebody might be trying to attack them, which just in the nick of time. The next day, we see police at the scene, and Mulder and Scully are discussing what's happened. Mulder manages to find some tracks outside the... I think it's the dog door, isn't it? They find some tracks that have been dried. It's dried dirt, and they basically find out that the weight distribution on it's wrong because they're walking... they said ball to heel instead of heel to ball, isn't it? Which is where humans walk. Or something. It was the other way around, one of the two.
Do you want to know a funny... well, not a funny, an interesting fact?
Go on.
It's the way I walk.
Oh.
Yeah. Honestly, I the amount of times people have called me up on it, I walk kind of on my tiptoes, but like with more of my foot down.
Yeah.
Like, not when I've got shoes on. If I've got shoes, I just walk normally like everybody else. But when I'm around the house, and I don't know why, there was a reason that we sort of figured out why I did it. But yeah, I always walk ball. So maybe I'm one of these creatures.
If your eyes glow red at any point, then... Hey,
cutting the podcast off.
Yeah, that could be your like Halloween one year. You go as a tree man. Whatever this creature is. So yeah, they know Mulder notices this, and the policewoman, the redhead woman. What was her name again? Susan, did you say?
Michelle.
Michelle. I need to take better notes.
There is nobody in this episode called Susan.
I don't know where I got Susan from. Anyway. Oh God. Yeah, she basically comes over and confirms that as well. And this is where they figure out that maybe there's two of these creatures, and they've been, or more than two, maybe some kind of like group, because they lured the mother outside to try and attack the kid in the house. And they think this might have been this has been caused by them basically getting closer into the woods, so like the building work and stuff like that.
Infringing on their territory.
Essentially.
Yeah, they make a big deal of the hunting aspect of these creatures. I think they try and make it really clear that... not clear, but they keep on insinuating that these creatures are very clever, and they're very clever hunters. So they hunt in packs, they split off their prey, and then usually like they'll talk about like preying on the weakest victim, and how with the dad that wasn't necessarily the case. But what they tend to do is split people off and go after one person rather than tackling people as groups. So yeah, I think that's sort of important to note, that they've got like this sort of, it's almost sort of hinting towards this sort of prehistoric sort of years and years of sort of hunting genetics. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what they're trying to go for. Yeah,
it definitely feels like that kind of like caveman tactic of like trying to kill a woolly mammoth by like distracting it and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, exactly.
So with this in mind, they decide to organise an expedition into the woods with I want to call her Susan again.
It's Christina, actually.
With Michelle, Mulder, Scully, and another character who reminded me of Simon Pegg, the American Simon Pegg.
He's your nerdy character, isn't he?
Yeah. Again, I didn't take his name down because he doesn't last too long.
No, he doesn't. No, I'm not sure of his name either, to be honest.
I need to get better.
We're terrible for names. This one.
Terrible.
Bear with me. I've got to look at the cast, but I don't even know what his character name is.
I know the actor's name. He's like Anthony Sapp, I think the actor's name is, because I've got a note for it later on.
Then it's Jeff Glazer.
Jeff Glazer. Okay. Jeff Glazer is the most made-up sounding name.
Yeah, don't think we can be blamed for this.
Jeff Glazer is like if somebody was playing like an RPG and you were like an investigative detective or something like that. I'm Jeff Glazer.
Yeah, like Jeff Laser.
Yeah. If there is a Jeff Glazer listening, we apologise. Oh God. If there is, then you've got a cool name because I didn't expect that to exist.
Jeff Glazer.
Yeah. So yeah, they organise this expedition to try and find this creature. They get some infrared sort of cameras, which very Predator now, and the sort of references to Predator or the sort of inspiration, I suppose, from Predator is becoming very obvious at this point.
Yeah, definitely. It's that whole the creature that can hide it among the woods.
Yeah.
Although at this point, Michelle turns around and says something along the lines of, I prefer to take, some people prefer to take dogs, but I prefer to take humans with technology because if I get into trouble, I'd rather an extra pair of hands to help.
Yeah.
And as the episode goes on, I'm like, you prefer this pair of hands to the dog?
I know.
Like, he does nothing. Like, he's not helping at all. So if the dog's got the same track record with finding things as this technology, take the dog.
Yeah. At least the dog will fight.
Exactly. Or at least stay with you.
Yeah, he's not the best. Not the best at all. I'll summarise this scene because a lot of it kind of... it's basically a long scene, but you can kind of summarise it into a shorter...
It's basically... I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's basically like this chase scene where they keep on seeing things, but then... They'll see things on the infrared but can't see it in the woods, and then it'll run away. They'll end up running after it, and long and short of it is it ends up splitting them up. Yeah, that's basically it, isn't it? Because it keeps going on and on, but basically the idea is they keep on seeing these infrared monsters, and it feels like these whatever these monsters are preying on them. Yeah, because they're surrounding them and splitting them up by like dividing and having them run after them.
Yeah, so it tries to split them up. It keeps disappearing off the camera as well. Which they sort of mention later on that any other animals do that, and she mentions that a tick can do that, which I didn't know. So I learned a bit about ticks as well. But yeah, it splits them up, which was funny because they literally said before they went on an expedition, I think that it's trying to split people up, divide and conquer. They keep mentioning divide and conquer, and then as soon as it says there's two of them, we'll chase them in different directions. It's like you played right into their hand.
It's so true.
I could not believe that was happening. I was like, he was so stupid. Just chase the one, leave the other one, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they talk about as well, before the lead up to this, they start mentioning about there was a creature in Point Pleasant called the Mothman, which was also had glowing red eyes, which is just sort of like a tie-in to some real world sort of conspiracy, I guess. So yeah, they end up losing both of these companions. She gets attacked, Michelle gets attacked, and the other guy legs it and falls into a hole, I think. Or he gets dragged away or something like that.
The way they get sort of attacked is like, it's like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Yeah. They
just sort of fall to the ground and get dragged away.
Yeah. And yeah, so at this point, Mulder and Scully are left on their own. Mulder gets attacked and jumped, and Scully shoots at it. She doesn't hit it, but they kind of scare it away, and then they have to sort of basically bunk down for the night in this forest, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, this sort of scene reminded me a lot of. I started getting vibes from. It felt like a cross between Jersey Devil and do you remember the episode with the bugs that were like in the trees? This feels like a mashup of those two episodes. In terms of like the style,
it's that prehistoric feel to it, isn't it? That makes it feel like it's something from a different time, something that sort of thinks differently to the way we think now. But in all honesty, I feel like after watching the next scene, which we're going to talk about now, I feel like everything else has kind of just been worked around to try and get this scene in. Yeah. And I think this is a fantastic scene coming up. I really enjoyed it. But the rest of the episode, you just kind of realise, they've come up with a scene first and then built an episode around it.
That's what it feels like, yeah. So we'll get to that anyway. So so it's now nighttime. They're basically trying to build a campfire. It's not going well, and Scully basically thinks that if she can get the gunpowder out of a bullet, she can sort of start a fire that way. Manages to spark it, but it instantly burns out because it's gunpowder. It just goes straight away. They have conversations about trying to stay warm.
Mulder, you need to keep warm. Your body's still in shock.
I was told once that the best way to regenerate body heat is to crawl naked into a sleeping bag with somebody else who's already naked.
Maybe if it rains sleeping bags, you'll get lucky.
Nice try, Mulder. It's worth it.
I like the way Scully gets out of it by saying we don't have a sleeping bag.
Yeah. There's also this scene where Scully basically asks, or this conversation, sorry, where Scully basically asks, has Mulder ever seriously contemplated dying? Naturally, Mulder makes a joke about the ice capades because it's Mulder. And Scully starts talking about her cancer and how she felt during that period of time. So to tie it back to the last few episodes, basically. Yeah, definitely. I like Mulder's response to this as well, because they're talking about how nature sort of interacts with you in this, and Mulder basically says that he doesn't think nature cares about if we live or die. And he says, if you're lucky you get to 70, if you're really lucky you get to 80, and if you're really, really lucky you get 50 years with a full head of hair, which rub it in, why don't you, Mulder?
How many years did you get?
About 23 maybe. Mid-20s at least. I said this to Tash. I brought this conversation up, and I was like, I've been going through old pictures lately, like trying to, because they've all been dated wrong, and I've been trying to like sort them out. And I'm trying to now figure out from where, looking at old pictures, where I decided my hairline was like, nah, let's give it up. But yeah, there's loads of little conversations in this bit as well. There's like Mulder asks,
Hey, who did you identify with when you were a kid? Wilma or Betty?
Identify with Betty's bus line.
Yes, I did too.
There's just so much to this sort of scene. It's just and yeah, I'll just finish it off as well by basically saying that Mulder eventually convinces Scully to sing to him, to basically she can stay awake and he can basically go to sleep. She says she can't really sing that well, but he eventually manages to get her to sing a song called Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, which I'd never heard of before.
I've definitely heard the song. I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
But another important thing is, like, she kind of pulls him to sort of lie on her lap and, like, sort of just holds him really close, because obviously he's cold and he's, like, been injured. And yeah, what a great scene this is. It's just, it really does cement how close. Like, the problem is, I think let's take the past 10, 15 episodes. I think they've definitely got to this next level of closeness. But the problem is, with everything that's been going on, with all the action that's been happening, it's difficult to show that. Like, you can show that by them going through this joint experience together. But they never really have any downtime to sort of really show what that means when they're on their own and they're just not thinking about work. Yeah. So I think it's a really clever move to have this part in the episode where it is just downtime. They are just talking about, oh, what's your favourite album? What would you take to a desert island? Yeah. They get that time to have those conversations. And we see that, actually, these last year or so has brought them incredibly close. That this wasn't them a year ago. Yeah. There's a lot that you can see to this. And that's why, like, as soon as I watched this scene, I was like, this is the series they're going to pull the trigger on this relationship. I think you might be right here. 100%. Because it's like, seeing how close they are now, I just can't. I don't think they can hold him off any longer, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, they could, but I feel like now it seems like the perfect time for everything they've been through. But yeah, it's just incredible. It's like sort of character building or relationship building scene between the two, and I definitely feel like this episode is brought up a significant amount by basically just having these sort of scenes with Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, agreed.
The next morning, we see Scully foraging for some food, basically, and Scully falls into a hole, which is what I thought had happened to the others earlier on as well, because they sort of seemed to drop. But anyway, Scully falls in, Mulder runs over, he's still quite wounded, his arm looks a bit knackered. Sorry, I don't know if that word translates to any of the battered, not looking great. I don't know if battered is any better. Sorry. But yeah, she falls into this underground sort of like cave, and they find the bodies of all these missing people, and some of the, especially the guy, the blonde-haired guy from earlier, and some other people who had gone missing. And this is where we see these red eyes again in the distance coming towards her. Mulder decides to throw his gun down into the hole because he thinks he doesn't need the gun up there. And we kind of see something in the background of Mulder as well at this point, so you think, oh no, Mulder's going to get attacked again as well while he's up here. But Scully manages to shoot and kill this creature. And I think Mulder jumps down into the hole, doesn't he? Because this thing's attacking
he's
him.
Up there, completely unarmed.
Yeah, it's like,
makes the right choice.
Yeah,
we're just going to jump down together.
So yeah, they're both down in this cave now, and they look at the body of this creature, and it kind of looks like a human, but yeah, it has this sort of wood skin, and near them is like a tree trunk, and it's got the word ad noctem carved into it. Not long after this, we finally see what's been sort of chasing them, I guess, up above land. It's Agent Stonecipher and Kinsley, who, as you said, came to save the day. They've got all these police and all this backup, and they basically get them out of this hole. There was this weird green screen effect. I didn't understand. Like, do you know when he's like standing over the hole? Like the sky looks really weird. I didn't understand that.
I didn't notice.
I understand why. I imagine this cave set is probably on set. And when we get to the production notes, actually thinking of it, I can understand why they probably did this elsewhere. But yeah, anyway, so they managed to find these. The agents managed to find Mulder and Scully. They get them out, and later on we see them back at this tree trunk that they'd sort of looked at earlier. Yeah. Which there's a small plot point in there when they mentioned it earlier that some conquistadors from Spain had basically been here.
Yeah, so basically the tree trunk has got like a load of markers sort of showing the age of the tree.
Yeah.
Like you could like the the tree gets bigger with age.
Yeah.
And so it sort of tells you like the age would have been and what would have been happening. And yeah, like you say, there's like this sort of a Spanish invasion or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, later on there, they basically they're talking about this, and Kinsley, the guy agent, says that they've got all the credit for this, but basically Mulder and Scully did all the work, which kind of sounds like the X-Files all over. And Mulder's talking about this tree again, saying that Ponce de Leon, one of the conquistadors, was actually looking for the Fountain of Youth in Florida, and he would have probably landed around this time. And this is where Mulder suggests that these predators are basically because these conquistadors found the fountain, and they've had to adapt to life out here, and they've had to defend their territory from people invading. To which Kinsley's like, shut up, you're just doing this because you want to write off your X-Files, what do you call it, like, expenses, basically.
Yeah, that's all he wants. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you don't believe in this, then you probably would see this as, oh, he's just coming up with any old bullshit just to like save him some money.
And to be fair, it's something I've never thought about. But if I was in Mulder's situation and I had to go get a hotel, like think of this. Think of all the X-Files, the mysterious things that people have got him out for, and he's gone out, and it's just like a disappearance, or the kids ran away, or something along them lines. And he's had to go back, and he doesn't get that on expenses because it's not an X-File.
Yeah.
Well. Guess how many of those suddenly become an X-File because he has to pay for the hotels.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this right now.
He does mention, though, that, because I think Mulder asks him what ad noctem, or he says that ad noctem was carved onto there, and he says that ad noctem, Kinsley says this was something they used to, they wrote it on tree trunks when they tortured and killed Native Americans.
Yeah.
And they also note that while they're investigating the caves, that the body of the creature that Scully had killed had actually vanished and disappeared, and they've not been able to find it. And this is where Mulder sort of thinks this isn't over. This was weird. This ending was weird. I thought this ending was the worst.
Yeah. Let's say it the way it is.
Yeah.
This creature somehow knew where Scully was staying and happened to just get... It was so stupid.
It
I understand why they did this. Yeah. They did this for a cool ending. It's a cool visual to end the episode on.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
It feels like to me that they had like... Because literally, I looked and I was like... Oh, it's nearly finished now. There's like 2 minutes left, and he's like, and then Mulder's running off to like warn. I'll quickly summarize what happens. Basically, Mulder realizes that this creature might be coming to attack Scully. We go back. Scully's packing a room, and we think, oh, is the creature in this room? Mulder knocks on the door and says, oh, we need to get out of here. They both leave, and then we see a pair of red eyes under the bed, and it's there all along. It feels like they had 2 minutes extra to fill, and they were like, can you just do a twist ending at the end? And it's like, we can, but it's kind of... It feels wrapped up when they got them out the hole, and it's like, oh, was this actually something to do with the conquistadors finding the Fountain of Youth? That's a better ending, you know what I mean, than this, actually, he's not dead, he's still there, and it's like, what's the point? What's the point?
And it doesn't make any sense either. How would they know? It's silly. I understand. He had a cool visual. It's those eyes. When the camera pans toward under the bed and those eyes open up, that's the visual they wanted to end on.
Yeah, just a strange ending to what, up until that point, was quite a decent episode, I thought. It's just that ending was just strange, just really, really weird. I don't understand it, but anyway, overall, what do you think of the episode?
Okay, so I enjoyed this episode. I thought that one scene with Mulder and Scully camping out, I thought was brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The rest of the episode I thought was all right. But that's not a bad thing. Like I said, and I've said this millions of times, I'm sure people are getting fed up of me saying it, but I do think with a series like this, you do need palate cleansers. And I think this were a long overdue one, and I think this was perfect for that. So I thought it was a decent Monster of the Week. And with the scene of the camping scene with Mulder and Scully, I thought it elevated it to a good episode.
Yeah. That I kind of thought that this. It feels like now they've perfected the Monster of the Week format, because this was, quite frankly, a fairly basic episode. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody had watched a load of the X-Files and said, "Can you write an episode of the X-Files?" It'd be like what anybody could come up with for an episode of it, basically. But it's so fine-tuned now that it does feel like they've mastered how to do these, like, sort of basic episodes, I guess. But you'll get like a fun romp through the woods, and then that scene in the woods is perfect. So I definitely feel like that does drag it up from being just middle of the road, I guess.
Yeah, but again, I like to sort of emphasise this. Being middle of the road, especially on some episodes, isn't a bad thing.
No, definitely not.
I'm not expecting stellar storytelling every single episode, every single season.
No.
I think you do need stuff like this, and if you can have a scene like that elevates it, even better.
Luke's production notes.
Executive producer Frank Spotnitz was inspired to write this episode after watching the American thriller film Deliverance. According to Spotnitz, the idea of being stranded in a hostile environment was very interesting to me, and so was the idea of something moving the brush that you couldn't see. There you go.
Okay, interesting.
The ending was left intentionally ambiguous because as Spotnitz reasoned, it's scarier if you think the monster could still be out there. Don't think they needed to. You know what I mean? Like, they could have... Do you know what would have been better? Honestly, if they just... they all finished up and then in the night, it's panning through the forest and we just see the eyes again. Just do that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And it doesn't even have to be like we don't know whether it's them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
be anything, or it could just be like a trick of our imagination.
Yeah. It's kind of like what thing you did, Jersey Devil, because they just went back and there was still something there, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, it didn't need to be chasing them down. It's just weird.
Yeah. And just hiding under a bed. It did feel strange.
Yeah. When the script was undergoing a rewrite, series writer Vince Gilligan helped by proposing a few story elements, including Mulder and Scully partaking in a team-building exercise. There we go. Initially, scenes were filmed at Lower Seymour Conservation Reserve in North Vancouver. Although the typical shooting time for an episode of The X-Files is 8 days, Detour took 19 days to film. To make matters more complicated, it rained every day, according to second unit director Brett Dowler. This put a strain on the production crew because almost every main shot was slated to be outdoors and in the daylight. Because of the massive delays, changes were made, the actors' schedules were adjusted. Kim Manners was brought in to assist Dowler, and filming later moved to a soundstage to avoid the incessant rain. Spotnitz later noted, "I thought I'd come up with a very simple concept, literally one that was easy for the props people and all the other departments."
I was going to ask you why it took so much longer than a normal episode there.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's raining that much...
A lot of rain.
Yeah, that could be a nightmare, because I was going to say it's such a simple episode to film, not if it's raining.
It seems like they seem cursed that every time they try and do an outdoor production, it always rains and like ruins it. There was that other one as well, wasn't there? Was that the one where they're stranded on that island thing in the river? I think that one was similar to this. Where
I know what you're on about. Yeah.
There was that one.
Was in the notes as well, wasn't it?
There was that one, and there was the one with the guy who kidnapped the girl. That one was a lot outside, and they said that rained all the time as well. And it's just stay indoors, man. Don't film on location. It's not worth it. Initially, the producers wanted the antagonist of the episode to blend into the background using practical effects. Special effects supervisor Toby Lindala thus created unique bark suits. But these suits proved awkward and demanding, leading to most of the effects being done on a computer during post-production.
To be fair, it's so dark as well that you barely get time to sort of see them enough for it to make a difference. I thought they looked fine.
I honestly think, the less that you see of these, the better. To be honest, the red eyes alone is perfect, because that's just such a striking visual. You don't need to see what the actual creature looks like, personally.
Yeah, you've got just enough to sort of have an idea in your head of what they look like. Yeah. I completely agree.
Visual effects supervisor Laurie Carlson-George was tasked with creating the glowing red eyes of the monsters, which she created by merging various eyeball images, including shots of her family dog, to achieve the desired effect. There you go. What? I don't know. They must have just... I guess when they say various eyeball images, they stack them over one another on the computer or something. I don't know.
Well, I suppose. Okay, yeah. And then they just put a filter over.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. We need to... Laurie Carlson-George, if you are listening, get in touch.
Which obviously she is.
Yeah, we want to know about these eyeballs. This one, I just thought was a weird... Anthony Rapp, who plays the... What was his name? The guy with the fake name. Crystal...
It's not a fake name.
What's his name? Jeff Dazzler.
Jeff Glazer.
Jeff Glazer, that's it. Anthony Rapp took 10 days out of his starring role in the stage musical Rent to appear as Jeff Glazer in this episode.
Oh, no way.
There you go.
I know, imagine him turning up and going, that's all right, I'm only going to be 10 days. 19 days later, he's returning back up to his musical.
He's like, this is unbelievable. They've kicked him out there. They've got the understudy in to do his role. He's like, God damn it. These ones are what were labelled as cultural references. So I thought I'd leave these in, just as some are interesting. The plot and nature of the episode resembles the film Predator, in which a creature that is able to perfectly camouflage itself almost to the point of invisibility stalks several humans in a dense jungle. I feel like, unless you've never seen Predator, it's very obvious that this has taken inspiration from Predator.
Yeah, it's tough to miss that one, isn't it?
Yeah. While camping in the woods overnight, Scully sings Joy to the World by Three Dog Night while Mulder rests. Originally, Scully was supposed to sing I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, a 1949 country song by Hank Williams. However, Chris Carter requested something more off the wall. Spotnitz instead chose Joy to the World and later said, in retrospect, the song was perfect.
Yeah, I liked it.
I, to be honest, I couldn't imagine if I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry would be better, but who knows? We'll never know. We'll never know. Apparently singing this song to Mulder was one of Gillian Anderson's favourite moments in the entire series, and Gillian Anderson deliberately sang Joy to the World slightly out of key, in keeping with her character, who couldn't carry a tune. She does say that she can sing it a lot better in real life.
Yeah, but can she? I mean, until we get confirmation of that, I don't know whether we can believe that. We'll
have to put it to the test. If we're ever tasked to ask a question of Gillian Anderson, we'll ask her if she can sing Joy to the World. While they're talking about seriously dying, Mulder admits that the only time he's ever thought about this was at the Ice Capades, which I didn't know what that was, but it's apparently a travelling entertainment show featuring theatrical ice skating performances.
Okay. So. No, I didn't know that myself.
Mulder's line, trying near that tail hook crap on me, Scully, I'll kick your ass, is a reference to an incident that took place between September the 8th and 12th in 1991. It was the Tail Hook Association Symposium Conference in Las Vegas, in which more than 100 US military officers allegedly sexually assaulted at least 83 women and 7 men.
Jesus Christ.
So that's a pretty big event. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's mental.
I need to read up onto this. What on earth?
What happened there? It's crazy.
See, now, mate, I mean, I've got no idea. But I've seen on a TV show before that may have been referencing the same thing, where it was like a boys' club conference type of thing, but all the waitresses were like female and like they were getting groped as they went around and stuff like that. So maybe something like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to read up on that. I've got no idea what that's about.
No, I've never heard of it before, but yeah, it sounds nasty. Quite frankly, yeah. And finally, there was a reference to the cockroach that ate Cincinnati in this episode, which was a 1973 novelty song by Rose and the Arrangement that both celebrates and parodies horror movies of all types. So there you go, if you want to know what that reference was. Okay,
interesting.
Critic.
Well, talk about like references and appearances on different things and whatnot, and pop culture in general. I'm guessing. Well, to be fair, you and especially Tash are the type of people that I think would watch the show. Have you watched The Crown?
Tash watches it, and I sort of watch it like if it's on. Yeah.
So have you seen it? Because I don't watch it, but I am very tempted now because obviously this new season, Gillian Anderson's playing Margaret Thatcher. Have you seen any of it?
I've not watched any of the new series yet. Tash said she's going to watch it whilst I'm doing this, so she's probably got it on there. But yeah,
I'm really interested because from what I've seen, I'm very conflicted because I love Gillian Anderson and I can't stand Margaret Thatcher. So it puts me in a very confusing place. Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know whether I like it or not.
From the clips,
I'm very interested to see what she does.
From the clips I've seen of it, she plays a role incredibly well because she's very unlikable. So
you can't imagine from Gillian Anderson, can you?
No, it's strange because a lot of her roles, she seems to be quite like she was in Sex Education. She's quite a likable character in that. From what I've seen, I've not really watched the TV series. There's another program she's in called The Fall, but I have no idea what that is. I think she's like a detective again, typecast. But yeah, The Crony's good, to be fair. Like, I don't, like, watch it. It's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't interest me enough to want to watch it front to back. But from the bits that I've seen, it is very good. Like, the actual acting and that.
Good things about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Talking of what people think of things, Critic X-Files.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic X-Files.
What would you give this episode?
I'd go for a 7.
7. I gave it the exact same, just to sort of...
There you go. Yeah. Again, not a bad thing. It's a middle-of-the-road type of episode. A decent Monster of the Week. Good enough where it's perfectly watchable, but it's not, like, blow you out of the water great.
Exactly, yeah.
But it did have a perfect scene in it, I thought, which elevated it.
That's the thing. Like, I would have scored it if it didn't have that scene in. It'd probably be like a 5 or a 6. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't offend. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just sort of watchable. Whereas with that scene, I think it definitely does elevate it too. You should probably watch this episode for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree with that.
IMDb with 3,120 votes gave it an 8.3. So a bit higher than what we thought.
Yeah.
But not drastically different, I suppose. And other critics gave it a mixed to positive review. So yeah, kind of towing that line, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's it for Critic X-Files. How about some Dan's Twitter Corner?
Welcome to Dan's Twitter Corner.
Yeah, well, we had quite a few tweets this last week or so. So I just thought I'd read out a couple. Well, I wanted to read out a couple to you, and then I wanted to discuss something with you. So
okay,
we'll go in order. Steve Gregory got in touch, and he said, "Got to say, I agree with you on Redux. It's a terrific reintroduction to the series after the break. I thought Critchgow's monologue was especially gripping. His delivery and the way the stock footage was used reminded me very much of Oliver Stone's JFK, which I've not seen myself.
No, never mind.
But I remember both of us really enjoying that scene and enjoying that monologue. And so it kind of makes me want to watch this.
Yeah.
But yeah, a really interesting scene, and I really enjoyed the way they did that. We also had Ray get in touch, and she said, that was a fun discussion, guys, regarding unusual suspects. Detective John Munch is a character from the Law and Order SVU, and so that was answering our question of where he was from.
Yeah.
But another thing that I thought was really interesting was, she said, were you able to catch what Mr. X said while Mulder was down jabbering nonsense? And apparently he said, no one touched this man. Now, I must have missed that.
I see.
But it's a real big insight into... already he's protecting Mulder.
That's the thing, because like when we were talking about it last week, we were kind of saying, oh, is he on the inside? Is he like sort of feeding information at this point? Is he trying to undermine this conspiracy, or is he fully on board? And with that line, it's a hint that he's already at this point trying to help outside of it. So yeah, I didn't pick it up at the time, but yeah, I did see this tweet and I thought, oh, that definitely answers that question.
Yeah, very interesting to know. Speaking of not picking something up,
yes,
we failed. We failed as podcast hosts this week.
Yeah, I feel like we missed a glaring omission. We had a glaring omission, sorry, and that created a lot of discussion on the internet.
So Mulder, in last week's episode, was wearing a wedding ring. Now, if we logged onto our Twitter, we didn't notice this at the time. We logged on and everyone's talking about it, and I still don't really have a clue what's going on.
No,
there's talks of, I don't think anyone really knows, but it sounds like it was a kind of like a little Easter egg / troll / just something put there to get a discussion going. So I'm guessing it's never explained. But we don't really know what's going on with this wedding ring. But we didn't pick up the wedding ring in the first place either. No. So,
or is this just a hint that like we missed in plain sight that Mulder has been married before?
That's the thing. Well, that's what if I'm seeing the ring. I'm gonna guess that that's what the solution is. With that he's been married before, but from certain conversations that I've seen since, it doesn't sound like we get any confirmation of that. So I'm not sure. But very interesting, and regardless, either way, I'm very interested to find out what the decision was behind that wedding ring.
Or maybe it was just a goof, and that was like David Duchovny's wedding ring, and he forgot to take it off.
Who knows? But I think the main takeaway from this is we shouldn't have missed that.
No.
Like, we're professionals, Luke. How did we miss this?
I mean, professionals is a stretch. It's got to be said. I think in this episode, I didn't name one character other than Mulder and Scully. You know,
well, I would like to say thank you to we've got Kathy, we've got Green Hellfires, we've got Auburn Phoenix. There's a few more as well, but thank you very much for everyone that got in touch and to let us know about that one. We're going to have to keep an eye on any flashbacks now. We're going to have to keep an eye out for wedding rings because I didn't even think to look.
No, I genuinely, it's just one of those things that it's just, I'm not looking out for. Do you know what? I feel like it's one of those where if you've watched it a few different times, like you do pick up on stuff like, as I mentioned the other day, we've recently been rewatching Game of Thrones, and the amount of like people in the backgrounds, like, expressions that you pick up on. There was this one scene where like Jon Snow walks back into Winterfell and there's a guy, an old man, who just stares at him blankly and he just stands there like this, and it's like, that was weird, what's that guy doing there? Never would have first watching you'd never pick up on that because you're concentrating on the main characters, and third watching you're like, what's going on there? You know what I mean? Like you'll notice all these little things like going on in the background. But yeah, I reckon if we watch it back again, I think it'd be a lot more obvious.
And the beautiful thing is, because we're watching it with a lot of people that have already watched it a few times, we get that insight straight away, which is nice. So that anything like that, get in touch with us, let us know. Just search for Most Unwanted Podcast on Twitter, pretty much the best way. But we are on all social media platforms. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's everything from Twitter this week.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you want to get in touch, as Czech said, just get in touch with our Twitter or anything like that. Next week, we're tackling, I've seen this in best of lists, so I'm going to set the expectations there. This is, from what looks like, quite a big episode, and the screenshot's black and white, so that might be a hint as well as to what we're going to see. Next week we're looking at the postmodern Prometheus. So, that could be an interesting episode. But
I'm looking forward to it. There is one more thing I wanted to mention before we go.
Okay. Yeah.
To be honest with you, when I'm looking for the episode, I tend to just go for type in season 5 and then go on the episode list and just scroll down to the episode I'm on.
Yeah.
Usually not a problem because, like, for example, I'm doing it now, and one of the episode 8 is called Kitsunagari.
Yes. Yeah.
So usually I'm not getting anything from that. There's no spoilers there. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me, and I'm not going to remember it 5 seconds later. But one that I did pick up on was the episode after next week is called Christmas Carol. We timed this completely wrong, Luke.
I mean, it'll be in December, so that's not the end of the world. We still get a Christmassy feel, but...
Yeah, but it would have been great to have that as our Christmas episode.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. We'll have to... I know there's another Christmas episode as well, a bit later on in, another series. So we'll have to try and time that one a bit better.
Yeah, that's just plan it all out.
Yeah. We'll be like, you've been on break for 6 months. It's like, it'll be worth it, don't you worry.
Yeah, but the problem is, we'll plan it all to a T, and then I'll get pneumonia again.
Yeah. We just life gets in the way, you know. At least it's in December. You know what I mean? It could be worse.
It's a good point. That'll be the start of our Christmas bonanza for December.
Yeah. Every episode will have jingle bells. We'll sing a carol.
Jingle bells on the intro, perfect. Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
We'll sing a carol in every episode.
After the year we've had, we deserve this.
I know people that are putting up their Christmas decorations now, and that have been this month. So I'm not. Well, there's a tree in the background. Sorry, I'm narrating what I've just seen.
we've already put our decorations up.
There you go. I said this to Tasha. I was like, "Shall we put them up this weekend?" But she's like, "I want to stick to December." I'm like, "Okay, we'll do that."
Usually, I'm in that camp. But I'm gonna be honest. Last year, again, I had pneumonia over Christmas, and so I basically didn't have a Christmas, and so I just said, let's just have a nice long Christmas this year.
I think everyone needs it after the year we've had, and then
Exactly.
New Year's can be the biggest FU to this year possible. I saw somebody float the idea out that New Year's from now on should be an evaluation of the last year, and then we'll decide whether we should celebrate the new year first. You know what I mean? Like, is it worth it? You don't know what's coming. But anyway, have you got any final thoughts for this week?
No. Yeah, you've got just enough to sort of have an idea in your head of what they look like, and that's all you need. I completely.
It cut up a bit then, but it was just
Did I say anything?
It was just where you said, yeah, it does. Basically, there's a bit where you say, I completely agree, which I could probably just chop that bit off.
Sounds.
I'll make a note, actually.
Just for your pleasure, so you can. I completely agree. There you go. You can cut that if you need to. If it doesn't sound right.
Just put it over the top.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
There you go. I've got multiple to choose from there. I might layer them over one another so we've got like a crowd.
I just transcend.